Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Judy and you are watching Running Sewn, and it's lovely to be back here with you on a Sunday talking about all things sewing. I love the way my friend Jess goes, and all things stitch related. It could be all things stitch related as well, but I'm not quite certain. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watched one of my vlogs lately. It's so wonderfully kind of you to do so. And I think I've just about caught up with every single reply to a comment that I can make. Now, an apology, I really don't feel 100%, but I promised I'd get this vlog out, and I haven't done anything else all weekend because you can tell, occupational hazard for working in a school, I've got yet another cold. But I have so much to share with you, I really needed to get this vlog up, otherwise I'd be thinking I need to make September's vlog in the middle of November. So I've got piles of stuff here, and I've got one thing I've missed, two things I've missed. Right, I'm back. I just realised I'd left something in the living room to talk to you about. So, let me start. When I came back from the States, the first weekend back was the first of my tricky weekends, so I decided to keep myself busy and I hopped off on a sewing social. There's always that telltale sign that you're off to a sewing day. When somewhere in your sewing space or in your home, you have everything organised in a certain way. So the caddy is packed, the necessaries are out, there's a clue. Everything else is packed in another Adam style caddy. It's time to go to the Harrogate Social. Having just been to Quilts of Valor with Lorianne over in Oregon, I thought today I'd take my featherweight. Adam's taken his to sewing days and done patchwork, and I'm going to do patchwork today, but just to be on the safe side, I've got my little travel sewing machine. So the Harrogate Social is underway. I'll show you what I've got. I've brought my featherweight and I've got everything lined up here because I'm going to try and make the Swoon quilt by Thimble Blossoms that I bought, having seen somebody show it at Quilts of Valor, and it was just beautiful. So I raided through my stash and cut out loads of squares. Whether they all match, I don't know, but this is patchwork, and in my eyes, you can stash bust in the patchwork. So I've brought my spinny board that Lorianne gave me a couple of years ago that she didn't want anymore, and I've started to put squares together. I've got a board, I've got a pencil, and off I go. This patchwork business it's quite tricky. I've looked at the instructions and I've read the instructions, but I love it when you've got a physical picture instruction. So what I've done so far is I've got my two pieces, like so, and I've drawn on my line, but I've now got to stitch on this side of the line. Now, I don't have a gauge on my featherweight foot for that, so I'm actually just going to draw those on using my quilting ruler. I'm also being filmed by Christine from Gemini Stitches. She's just there, look, videoing me, videoing her. So as I said this morning, this is a brand new social. It's its first social is today. It's in a lovely, lovely church hall just outside Harrogate in an area called Starbeck. And the lady who's running it, Ruth, it's her church, so at this end we've got the band. We're waiting to see who's going to come and entertain us this afternoon. But there's the most beautiful sitting area. I'll take you through there later for coffees, and there's tea and there's cake and coffee. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to line up, so here on my ruler, this mark here is my 1/4 inch mark. So if I put this on the line I've already drawn and draw a line down here, that will be the 1/4 inch and that will be my stitching line. And with patchwork, because you've cut your squares out accurately, you have to do your stitching lines accurately. So I will let you see what it is that I'm doing. So I shall lay this down here. I don't know if this is the point that I tell you all that I used to be the secretary to the Quilters Guild of Great Britain many years ago. Oh, and this board will twist round, according to Lorianne. Let's see if it goes. Oh yes, look at this. So I can twist my board round. Oh yes, I can twist my board round and I can put this on here, like so. And off we go and do this again. So I'm going to go off and do a whole load of these, and I shall come back to you in a minute. is satisfying, isn't it, when you hear them going? Well, I had the most fantastic day at the Harrogate Social. The ladies were just wonderful. Let me just pop them in here. And it was fantastic because the lovely Christine, who is the Gemini Stitcher, came over from Lancashire way. I'm not exactly certain whereabouts over there you are, Christine, so I'm going to say Lancashire way because I know I can't be getting anything wrong. So while I was there, I started to do a little bit of patchwork, as you can see. Now, I've got my patchwork in here and I want to talk to you about why it's gone wrong, and it's a very fundamental error that we can all do. And I've got loads of bits and pieces, I'm saying, looking down in this bag that I've joined together. And those of you that have watched me for a while will know that I am a quilter. I do patchwork, but I have been a hand quilter and a hand piecer. So I've started to move to piecing on the machine. I do still have some work that I'm piecing, and that is in a separate little bag, and I take it out with me because I can do it on the train, I can do it on the plane, I can do it anywhere in the car. So I have been practicing my piecing, and what I can say is that what I did do at the Harrogate Social isn't going to be part of the quilt, which is a bit disappointing, but there's a positive to everything. So this is part of me piecing some bits and pieces together, and I'm really pleased. I'm just going to go in on a random point there, and I've got all my points together there just about. Now, I am a perfectionist. It is not perfect here. Now, if that was not a practice, I'd be taking it out because I like them to look like that. They've got to be perfect. If they're not, I'm not happy. This one is almost perfect. The whole point is that all those points go together. But what went wrong is the big question that you're going to ask me. The big question is, and it's so easy to answer, basically I had the wrong pattern. So in my bag here, I have got the right pattern. When I was at Quilts of Valour, a lovely lady called Pam stood up and she said, I've got this quilt I want to show you. And it's called the Swoon quilt. Now, all they said to me was the Swoon quilt. So I got back to Lorianne's, went straight on the computer, and I was looking for the Swoon quilt. And I found the Swoon quilt. But it wasn't the one she'd done. She'd actually done the Swoon Sweet 16. Swoon 16, not Sweet 16. She'd done the Swoon 16. So I've got the wrong pattern. And I couldn't understand. I was cutting out these squares and I thought, I'm sure I've read somewhere that you can cut 3 blocks out of 3 fat quarters or 4 blocks out of 3 fat quarters. And I thought something is not quite right here. Came back, did some more research and realised I'd actually got the wrong pattern. So I have a bag over here of squares. Now, I'm actually not going to get rid of those because I know that sometime during the next academic year or the year after, I will be doing some kind of piecing at After School Club. The kids can use them. They can play on them, they can make cushions with them. This is a simple scrap that I don't need to get rid of. Alternatively, she says, pointing, and I'm very sorry to point, I've heard of something called the Cone Exchange, which is based in Harrogate, and I found out about this at the Harrogate Social. And at the Harrogate Social, they do a collection, they do their swap table, but anything that's left, if it is going to keep coming back week after week or month after month or social after social, is going to be passed to the Cone Exchange. Now, very simply, the Cone Exchange is a charitable outlet from the Tailors Group. Now, Tailors do Yorkshire tea, and they are the brand behind Betty's Tea Rooms. And a little boy with some needs went round the factory a while ago. I don't know how long ago, and he saw a cone and said, could he take the cone home to make a rocket? One thing led to another, and it is now a place where you can donate. So any of these reels of cotton that I don't want, that I'm fed up with, I can donate them to the Cone Exchange, and people can come along and buy them, and the money goes to charity. Now, I'm very lucky in that the house I look at that way, when I look out my kitchen window, the chap that works there works for tailors. So he has agreed to be my taker to the cone exchange. He's going to regret that, because any little scrap that I have, and I did have like this, can go to the cone exchange. Because somebody might buy it to make a rag rug, but when they buy it, the money that is taken goes directly to charity. Cone exchange is only open in term time. If I can find anything, I'm going to put it in the description box below. But I just thought, what a wonderful idea. And I have heard there is these scrap outlets where you can go and buy scraps and things, but it's not really like that. This is a charity thing, and I'm sure other big businesses will do them, but I'll pop it down below, and if anybody's in Yorkshire and they're interested, they can go and have a little look. But one of my friends, she's very into she knew about the cone exchange, and she had stuff. So I now have her stuff to give to Tim, for Tim to take to work. But I'll sort it out, and he can take one great big bag rather than taking lots of little bags. So that was fantastic. So the Harrogate Social run along the same lines as all the other socials. There were only 8 of us there, and we all went out. Some of us went out, didn't say we all went out. Some of us went out and bought a sandwich at lunchtime. And when we came back, we sat on the lovely chairs to sit and have our lunch. And it was just wonderful, because there was a kitchen area there, and there were these lovely chairs. And we just sat and we chatted, all things life and all things sewing, which was delightful. And then we all departed just after 4, after the lovely Ruth, her husband, came and took some photographs of us, which was wonderful. And I'll put a link down below to the Instagram account, and hopefully we can help this lady grow her social, because it was so easy for me to get to. It barely took half an hour. Wonderful people to chat with, lovely, warm, cosy environment, fantastic. And I'm hoping to be able to go again, but I have found another social locally, and I want to try that one out too. Now then, the following weekend, I went out again with my lovely friend Pam. Pam's local to me. We met at a sewing social. We clicked. We get on really well, and we've been going out and doing the odd social sewing thing together. And last weekend, on my dreadful day, we went over to Manchester to see another friend of ours whom we all met via the Beyond the Pink Door Zoom calls. This is where we went. I've decided on this random Saturday in September that we're going to have a road trip. And look where it's brought me. I wonder where else it might take me, but I think we better have a look inside here first. And we've got 2 little visitors. Crafty here, because I've come to another fabric shop, and I'm not going to tell you where I am until I get home and you see what I've bought. But let's go and have a little look at this one. Now, where did I go? I went to Abakan Fabrics in Bolton, and I bought one piece of fabric from there. Well, actually, I bought 3 pieces of fabric from there, I'll be very honest. 2 of them were for school. I needed some like waterproof shower curtain type material to make some curtains for an outdoor Wendy house for the outside area, and I'm sure you don't want to see that. And then I bought some of that plastic coated stuff to go on a table for the children to do art on. But when I was looking round, because a lot of the fabric there is in bins and you buy it by the weight, so the shower curtain fabric I picked up, I think I paid £3.50, and they gave me a discount because I had my school badge in the car. But I was looking around, the one thing I really wanted was warm plain jerseys to wear to work, because I spend a lot of my time at work outside with the children, and I really don't mind being outside, because if I'm outside I don't get colds because the air blows the germs away. And I found this. Now this has got a very interesting mix. It has got a mix, it's a knit, and on the back it's like a velour. Let me just hold it right up to the camera. And it's got a lovely, lovely drape to it. Can you see? It has got like a velour background, like a little velvety. Going right in, can you see that? Velvety background. Knit on the other side. And it's a fairly bland, insignificant colour. And my thought was, I think I've got 2.5 metres and it's 170 wide. The composition was really interesting because it said N17, and then my head is not in for mental maths, but it had a T and an R. And the only thing we could get T and R for was tencel and rayon, which are fantastic natural fibres. It is a stretch, it's got some stretch to it, that way. It's got no vertical, but it's got a lot of horizontal. So it will make a lovely knit top like this. This is one of my favourite cosy tops when I'm not feeling well. It's a Linden in a CU at 6 fabric from years and years ago. I thought I could make a Linden and a toaster, and if necessary I could make the Linden bigger than the toaster so that it goes over the top of the toaster, but it would be a double layer to keep me warm during those winter months. From there we went to another shop, didn't we? And I only bought 1 piece of fabric there as well. You are going to get a bit of a theme here that I'm only buying what I really need. There was one extravagant purchase, and it's actually away in the cupboard, so I didn't want to get it out. But you know this lovely clear vinyl that you use when you're making these project wallets? This is one of Adam's project wallets that I adore. I bought a metre. No, I didn't. I bought half a metre of project wallet vinyl. I don't know if I would make any, so I thought, oh, I'm going to get some of this because it's only £3.50 a metre. Why did I find it at £3.50 a metre? I found it in Leon's. And Leon's is actually, it's got 3 shops. It's Leon's, Greens and Barry's. It's all the same company. So it's part of, Barry's is part of Leon's and Greens. Or Leon's is part of Barry's and Greens, or Greens is part of Leon's and Barry's, but it's all the same company. And I bought 1 piece of fabric there, and it's this. Now my friend bought this as well. This is 100% wool. No, it's not. Forgive me. I'm going to say it's 80% wool, 20% Angora as a rough gauge. It is absolutely stunning. And we found a pattern. I can't remember which pattern it is. If I can remember, I'm going to put it in down there and link it in the description box. But it is just a very simple like waistcoat jacket to go around your shoulders, one of these that goes around with a button here. When I say my brain is completely full of brain fog, I mean my brain is completely full of brain fog, completely full. I just feel like, ooh. So those are the only 2 fabrics that I have bought when I went on that fabric shopping trip. From there, the 2 of us went down and saw our other mate, and we had pizza takeaway and took the dogs for a walk, and it was a totally delightful evening, which culminated in my friend and I, Pam, playing cone roulette on the M62 as we got through junction 19 just before they put the final cone down to close the road. I would call that a winner. Now I want to roll back to my Swoon quilt now, because it now seems more appropriate, because I've finished talking about the Harrogate Social, to talk about the Swoon quilt. I'm trying to desperately use the fabric that I've got and not to buy things I don't need. My only fabric luxury at the moment is my Beyond the Pink door box, which I totally adore, and which is a total treat for me to get once a month. And I want to hold on to my Beyond the Pink door box for as long as possible. But this is what I really want to make, because I've got so many clothes in my wardrobe, and I've had a little look over this weekend because I've done my jobs. I've gone up and down, done the ironing, put the clothes away, and thought, I don't really need this anymore, and I don't wear this and I don't wear that. Things that I've had in my wardrobe for a few years. And I've looked back and I thought, really, I need the warm layers and I need some more leggings for school. That's what I need. So that's my focus. But I want to do a little bit more of this kind of sewing for a while. I want to do a bit more patchwork. Oh, I think what I'm trying to say is I want a bit more variety in my sewing world, in my sewing life. You know, I'd love to be able to make, I know I can make, to do some project wallets like this. You know, to hand out as presents at Christmas, because I do know that things like my daughter-in-law would love things like that, as would my daughter too. So I went a little hunt around my sewing room and my fabric cupboard. And I've lost a piece of what's there. Piece of fabric. Look what I found. It's a tulip pink bundle of Free Spirit, and I can't remember when I bought this. You know, this is what happens. We buy the fabrics and we forget we've got them. But I have got 8 fat quarters there. I have 2 more fat quarters here, which is 10. So what I'm looking for is a background, because the quilt needs a background fabric. So I've had a good look at the pattern again, and at the fat quarters, I do need some that are going to be used as the background fabric as well. I do need to reread these instructions. This quilt is not straightforward, as I think it is. It's straightforward enough to make in the techniques, but it's actually working out the measurements, because the one thing the pattern doesn't have is exactly what you're cutting, what colour fabric. And I was warmed by the lovely Pam. There's 2 Pams turning up in this video. There's the Oregon Pam and my local Pam. So for now, I've got these tulip pinks, and I thought, why don't I use these? And I am going to the knitting and stitching show. So I thought, do you know something? Maybe this is the little guidance that I need to get some tulip background fabric. So could that be my shopping for the knitting and stitching show? Who knows? I've also remembered that I've got these beautiful fabrics, and I've got one more that I can't find at the moment that I bought in Oregon last year, and they'd make a beautiful quilt, but I'm not quite certain if this is the quilt for them. This could be a quilt that might need larger squares. In fact, it might be the one that would work with the actual Swoon quilt rather than Swoon 16. So I'm going to put those away in a safe place. I've also then found 2 William Morris and thought, do I go down the Morris route? Well, the only thing with Morris is the patterns are so much small. That sounds as if I know him personally, doesn't it? No, go down the Morris route. But I could use Morris, but you've got this lovely swirl in here, and that might be too big. And then this one is much, much smaller. So I've got lots of different options. And what I'm thinking is that as I go forward now towards Christmas, I've got my lovely jacket over here that I started to cut out. I've actually got a pile of scraps for the cone exchange. But I've got my Berlin jacket cut out, ready to go. And I've overlocked all the edges ready, and I'm hoping that this week I can start to get that together. And it should be fairly easy to put together, because, so I'm just going to stand up to show you this. I've actually managed to use there's no hemming on that jacket. So I am really hoping that I can get on with that this week and have it ready for next weekend. But there are 2 things that I need to get done by the 6th of October. The first one is some bunting for my grandson's christening. I will record this going through my sewing machine. I've got this. Hannah's popping down later. She says, looking away, I just need Hannah to pop up to Bugweeds and see if she can get some embroidery thread in that colour, because I know that the lovely Rebecca at Bugweeds does sell Metala embroidery thread, and the machine will just take it. It just loves Metala thread. And now the other thing that I wanted to show you today, this is long and chatty. There's so much to share with you. I would like to make a dress for George's christening. And I was thinking long and hard about what I want to make. And I really want to sew my Morris fabric. It's all very Morris-esque today, isn't it? And in fact, last week at Castle Howard, I did buy myself a book on Morris. I should be at Castle Howard now, but honestly, if I stand up to walk across the room, I'm like so giddy. The room is spinning. So I just thought I'm just going to have the day to get better. And I'm going to make another knit dress. And I think it will look absolutely stunning in this. And this is the knit dress, if I can find a picture, I'll pop it in there, that I made for Jenny from Jenny Stitches as a vlogger post. So it would be lovely to use that pattern again. And that's what I'm trying to do. The fabric I've got in, I'm trying to use it. Now, who amongst you has fallen down the crochet rabbit hole? Me! Now, when I was having my lunch with Jane and Peggy and Lorianne back in August, Jane mentioned the word granny square. She said, I need to make a granny square. And do you know when somebody says something and it goes into your ear and you just think, oh my God, I need to make a granny square. And my friend Pam had also said, oh, I'm doing some things with granny squares. And I thought, what is it with granny squares? And I'm an avid watcher of Liz the Baker that sews, and she likes a bit of crochet. And of course, our lovely friend Rachel over at the French Seams likes a little bit of crochet. So I fell down the granny square rabbit hole. So we nipped into Hobby Lobby and I found this. Oh look, there's my Pulmeria hair slide. We found this lovely cube, and I bought a little book on granny squares. I do know how to crochet, I really do. I don't know why I'm getting myself into a twist over it. But I have this beautiful yarn. It's 50% cotton and 50% viscose made from bamboo. And it was on offer in the Hobby Lobby, so I've actually got 6 balls and I bought a crochet hook. But when I got home, obviously that book wasn't good enough. And there's that, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but there's that cube of little cards that's going around Instagram, and if you look at it once, it keeps popping up and advertising itself. Well, I thought, I don't know if I want that, but I found this instead. Granny Square book. And I didn't know quite where to start. So I started at number 1. But then you need something else. You need a blocking board for them. So look! I was given, I've got my new internet, and they'd mucked me about so much. They owed me they said they'd send me a £20 voucher, and it bought me a blocking board. So there you go. I love this one. It's got like the little pineapple stitch in it. And then this is called a dogwood flower. And yeah, it's really lovely, because you can, if you sit down in front of the television at night, you can knock off one granny square. Providing it's a fairly simple one. And it's the colours. I chose the colours in my living room because I thought that if I want to use them for anything, then at least I can use them in my living room and make just a simple throw to go over the sofa. There you go. I've been a little bit busy, although a little bit quiet in the background. I am sorry I've been quiet in September, and thank you so much for all the love that you've shown me. It has been so very much appreciated. If you haven't already subscribed, it would be lovely if you could. I am getting closer to that 4,000 mark. It would be lovely to try and make that possibly before the end of next month. So for now, I'm going to say goodbye, and I should be back with you next weekend, because we might have a pink door box. And I will have finished my coat by then, because it's my Precious Fabric Challenge entry for the Precious Fabrics 24 that's being run by the lovely Whitney over at Tomcat Stitchery. And I'll leave those details in the description box below. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye.